The courtroom was silent, heavy with tension. A young woman stood alone before the judge, her shoulders slumped, her eyes tired but steady. She wore no makeup, and her clothes were simple, not because she didn't care, but because life had been hard lately. The air felt thick, every breath heavy with worry. The judge looked down at her with cold eyes and said without hesitation, "You don't seem like a fit mother." The words hit the room like a thunderclap. A shocked gasp rippled through the crowded courtroom. Some people whispered, others stared, stunned by the harsh judgment. She didn't say a word. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her lips stayed sealed. The judge's words felt like a blow, unfair, cruel. But what no one in that room knew was who she really was. Behind those tired eyes was a story no one expected. A story of courage, sacrifice, and strength that would change everything. Sarah Myers was not just any woman standing in that courtroom. At 32 years old, she was a single mother to a bright, curious 6-year-old girl named Lily. Their small apartment wasn't much, but it was filled with love, laughter from bedtime stories, the smell of pancakes on Sunday mornings, and quiet moments of comfort after hard days. Sarah worked long hours at a local diner. Sometimes she barely had enough to pay the bills, but she never missed a day with Lily. She was determined to give her daughter a better life, even if it meant sacrificing her own comfort. Her life hadn't always been this way. A few years ago Sarah had been married to Mark, but their marriage fell apart under the weight of anger and bitterness. Mark was jealous and controlling, and when they divorced he fought hard to take Lily away. Now Sarah stood in that courtroom, not just fighting for custody. She was fighting against the idea that she wasn't good enough. She was tired, more than tired, scared, but deep inside, a fierce love kept her going. Every night, when Lily fell asleep, Sarah whispered promises she hoped to keep. "I will never give up on you." The judge saw a tired, struggling mother, but Sarah was more than that. The courtroom felt cold, almost like a place designed to break people down. Sarah sat quietly on the wooden bench, watching as Mark's lawyer stood up confidently. The lawyer wore a sharp suit and spoke with a smooth voice, painting a picture of Sarah that was far from the truth. "She has anger issues," Mark's lawyer said. "She's unstable, not fit to care for a child." Sarah's heart sank. She wanted to shout, to scream, but the rules of the courtroom kept her silent. Her own lawyer, worn from long hours and little pay, tried to defend her, but every word seemed to bounce off the judge like raindrops on stone. The judge asked Sarah questions that cut deep, like how do you discipline your daughter? How do you handle stress? Do you think you're a responsible parent? Sarah answered calmly, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. She could feel the judge's cold gaze judging every word, every pause. It felt like no matter how hard she tried, she was already losing. In the quiet moments, Sarah thought about Lily, the way her daughter smiled in the morning, how she held her hand tightly when they walked home from school. Those memories were her only comfort. She whispered to herself, almost like a prayer, "I can't lose her. I have to be strong." The courtroom wasn't just a place for truth, it was a battlefield where lies could feel like facts, and where Sarah was forced to fight not just for custody, but for her dignity. The judge's doubt hung heavy in the air. Sarah knew this was only the beginning. Sarah had never talked about her past in court. She didn't see the point. What mattered was her love for Lily, her ability to care for her every day. But then, during the next hearing, everything changed. Mark's lawyer stood up, a sly smile on his face. "Your Honor," he said, "we've discovered that Miss Myers was dishonorably discharged from the military." The words hit like a shockwave. Sarah's breath caught. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge's eyes narrowed sharply. Dishonorably discharged. That wasn't true. Sarah's lawyer stumbled, surprised by the sudden accusation. Sarah looked around the room, her heart pounding so loud she thought it might burst. Finally she spoke, her voice clear but trembling. "That's not true." She took a deep breath and began to explain, for the first time telling everyone about her military service. Sarah had joined the army right after high school. She wanted to serve her country and build a future for herself. She'd spent 2 tours in Afghanistan, in some of the most dangerous places on earth. During one mission, An explosion nearly took her life. She was badly injured, but not before saving a fellow soldier caught in the blast. For her bravery she was awarded the Bronze Star, one of the military's highest honors. The discharge she received was not dishonorable. It was a medical discharge, given because of her injuries, and the trauma she carried after the war. Sarah's voice shook with emotion. I didn't talk about this because it's painful, but it's part of who I am. The courtroom was stunned. The judge leaned forward, eyes wide. For the first time people saw Sarah not as a tired mother, but as a warrior who had risked everything. The lies Mark's lawyer told began to crumble. But the battle was far from over. Just when it seemed the truth was turning in Sarah's favor, a new shock came to light. Mark's lies went deeper than anyone expected. It wasn't just a simple mistake about her discharge. Mark had actually forged documents to make Sarah look bad. He was jealous. Jealous not only of her love for Lily, but of the respect she earned as a soldier. Mark resented that Sarah had faced real battles overseas while he spent his days trying to control her. Word of the forged papers spread quickly. Sarah's old commander, Colonel James Hartman, heard about the courtroom drama. Without hesitation he came to support her. Standing tall in the courtroom, Colonel Hartman spoke with authority. Sarah Myers is one of the bravest soldiers I have ever known, he said. She saved lives, including mine. The accusations against her are false. His words carried weight. The judge's stern expression softened as he listened. For the first time the courtroom felt a shift from doubt to respect. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, not just because of the support, but because someone believed her. The truth was finally breaking through the walls of lies, but would it be enough to change the judge's mind? The judge sat back in his chair, his face unreadable. For weeks he had listened to arguments, watched Sarah struggle, and weighed every word. But now, with the truth laid bare, he felt something shift inside him. He realized that he had judged Sarah too quickly, saw only a tired woman in front of him, not a hero who had sacrificed more than most could imagine. His cold words echoed in his mind. Looking directly at Sarah, the judge's voice softened. I owe you an apology, he said. I was wrong to question your ability as a mother. The courtroom was silent, hanging on his every word. You have shown strength, courage and love. You are more than a fit mother, you are an American hero. The judge's decision was clear. He awarded full custody of Lily to Sarah. Mark's face tightened. The judge warned him sternly about the forged documents and lying under oath. It was a serious offense. For the first time in months, Sarah allowed herself to breathe. Relief washed over her like a wave. She had won, not just for herself, but for Lily. This was more than a legal victory. It was a moment of justice, and a reminder that sometimes the hardest battles are fought outside the war zones, right here in a small courtroom. Outside the courtroom, the world felt different to Sarah. The weight of the past weeks lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a quiet hope. She knelt down on the sidewalk, as Lily ran toward her, her little arms open wide. Mommy, Lily cried, wrapping her tiny hands around Sarah's neck. Sarah held her close, feeling the steady beat of her daughter's heart. Mommy's not going anywhere, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. For years Sarah had fought battles she never expected, battles in deserts far away, and battles in cold courtrooms back home. But this moment, holding Lily, was the one she'd waited for. Lily looked up at her, innocent and trusting. Sarah promised herself she would protect that trust, no matter what. Behind her the courthouse doors closed slowly, but for Sarah and Lily, a new chapter was beginning. The world may have judged Sarah harshly, but the truth was stronger than any doubt, and love, fierce, unbreakable love had won. She was called unfit, labeled harshly in a cold courtroom. But Sarah proved she was more than fit, she was fearless. A mother who fought wars far from home, who faced battles both in the field and in the courtroom. Her story reminds us never judge a person by how tired they look, or what you think you know. Sometimes behind quiet eyes lies a hero, and sometimes the greatest strength is love.